Hey everyone, welcome back to another Living Life Naturally podcast. And today I have a special guest from Canada, Diane Lanthier. I hope I pronounced that okay.
That's
She's
fine.
an empowerment coach and energy healer. So Diane uses a variety of tools and techniques that she's created over the last 18 years, and it helps you to identify and release your limiting and painful feelings, your beliefs, and memories so that you can shift into your fullest power. So Diane's also an author of On Loneliness, Angelic Wisdom to Comfort and Inspire, and the creator of Power Archetypes. So Diane works remotely with clients all over the world. So welcome to the podcast, Diane. We're thrilled to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
So tell us a little about your story. We know that you're coming from Canada. Whereabouts in Canada do you live?
I live in Ottawa, which is the capital of Canada. And I have been an energy healer for about 18 years, I would say. And I started with Reiki, and then that kind of opened up the world of energy healing to me. I quickly discovered EFT tapping, and that is my primary, I guess it's the tool I use the most, or it's the sort of the basis for what I call my own personal mishmash of energy healing techniques. The how doesn't matter so much, although I really do love EFT as a technique in the right hands. You can use it easily, but it also is a bit of an art form, to uh, go deeply, go into the really deep places and find the real core issues. So it's a tool that people can use on themselves, but also often you need somebody else to guide you to the
Right.
places where you don't want to go yourself. Or, sometimes I find people don't make even what can seem like an obvious connection, right? I have had people who come to me because they're having relationship issues or like a pattern, and then they don't realize that abuse in their childhood might be affecting that, right? So sometimes it's really easy connections, and sometimes it's stuff that you wouldn't think is related, but as you're working through things, they pop up and they show up. And sometimes it's this lifetime, other lifetimes. There's so many, when you get into the energy world, there's just so many places things can be happening, and we're so focused on our conscious world. And I really find the magic and your power and your ability to change your life truly uh, is in that energy world, right? And that's where you go to be able to shift things in your mindset. And so for me, tapping is a great tool for um, mental work, like mindset work, but also the emotional stuff, healing pain. And so often we believe and are told that we're stuck with our emotional pain, and that does not have to
Mhm.
be true whatsoever. And then of course shifting things energetically. And I think and that, you refer to the power archetypes. That's my way of understanding and explaining where we are feeling empowered and disempowered, where we give away our power, where do we believe that we are powerless when truly we are. And I really see that the one of the key components to stepping 100% into your power and being the creator of your experience is, being able to go into that energy work and shifting things. I don't think that you can talk about manifesting or creating a different experience without accessing your energy and changing your mindset in any way.
So how does the whole archetype structure help women to become more empowered or to release the better energy? Is there an association there?
Well, it speaks to pretty much any issue, because the thing with the archetypes is they're not static labels. They're not like, oh, sometimes you hear there's numbers or there's different systems like that, and people will
Mm.
identify with one and then or like a horoscope, and then people label themselves with that and think, oh, this is how I function because of this. My archetypes are for empowering you to see where you might be feeling limited, and where you how and where you can have more power in your life. So and you can be in different archetypes for different situations and different issues, so you can feel more empowered in some situations than in others. And so my work with people is to really bring you from wherever, whatever percentage of, feeling powerless, or, often people feel like they're spinning their wheels. They're doing everything they can, and then they're not getting the success, they're not getting the change that they want, and then they feel powerless, right? Or rudderless, or, sometimes it's that lacking the sense of self because we're looking for it out there instead of within. And so it's when you I think truly that we have way more power than we've been told we do. We have way more power than we think we do. We often give away our power, or we think we have to um, find it externally. And I'm a true believer that everything starts from within, including your power, your sense of power too. Because the amount of power you have in life is related to how powerful you feel. Right. So I kind of use empowerment and power interchangeably. Interestingly enough, I find women gravitate more to empowerment, which is an internal thing, and men gravitate more to power, which is external. And I think that's very, it's a generic statement, but it kind of speaks to most of the dynamics between, traditional male and female roles, right? That women will tend to be more internal. We turn our anger internally, whereas men will turn it externally. Again, very general statements, but yeah. So the archetypes kind of take you through, you can look at them linearly and take them, they take you through 0% empowered and to 100% empowered, right? And we can fall in between any of that. But my goal is always to help people understand. Because if you can understand and acknowledge that you are the creator of your experience 100% of the time, whether you're doing it consciously or unconsciously, then you have the ability to change something or to step into that power, right? And even though I might not always be in my power, I can recognize when I'm not, and that's my fault. It's my choice, right? It's my responsibility, not somebody else's. And then you can kind of snap back into that other position. Or you say, well, I'm not going to work on changing this, I'm okay with it, but it's my choice. I'm not the victim of circumstances. I'm going to create my circumstances. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And so I think because that I deal a lot with women who are in midlife, and so I think as women we tend to go through our lives, whether you're empowered or not. Most of us as women probably don't feel the power that we should because of the way that we've been brought up or the way that society has told us that we should be. And then women hit midlife and it's like all over again, they're feeling, so what's life about? I'm totally powerless. I don't know what to do. So, I mean, it's really a great beginning point for people that feel that way to do that kind of work with you, because it can, in my mind, be almost as if you can have a clean slate and start from where you want to.
Absolutely, absolutely. And clean slate, and it's a clean slate from the projections and perceptions and limitations of the world around us. Really, it's about getting. My tagline for my business is "Come home to yourself," because I think that you are the key to your own, abundance and success and peace and joy. We are each our own perfect source of all of that, but we learn differently. And when we are babies and children, we learn about ourselves from the world around us. And that's actually one of the archetypes, in my archetypes. The first and second ones are really related to not really having a strong sense of self and looking in the external world for that sense of self. And it's in the third archetype that I'm calling, that I call the conqueror, where you start going within and doing your healing work within. And that is often seen as the sort of best you can do, right? I can't change the external world, so I'm going to work on my triggers and I'm going to work on my own feelings. And sometimes we can see a shift in our world when we do that work. We feel more peaceful, and therefore we engage less or we attract less. You know, there's all these different layers and aspects that come into play. But it is not the best we can do in being empowered. It really isn't. We can do better by moving into an even, uh, I would say, more productive space of conscious creation. And I call that the alchemist archetype. And then beyond that, the designer archetype, because we can move even beyond changing our circumstances to changing our desires and and creating a new life, new experiences that before were not accessible to us because we didn't allow ourselves the access to them, right? It really is inner work, and it really starts within you. And when you clear away, if you want to call it cobwebs, or like the however it feels, that the layers of stuff that we've learned from others, from our world, that we've believed as limitations, when you clear those away, and we can, because they're not real. They seem really real, but they're not truly real, because they can release. And so when you pull those curtains back, you access naturally the truth, which is your own sense of power. And I can't tell you how many times, because it's every time I work with somebody, people feel like something is impossible. And then when you apply the tools and you just shift that belief, all of a sudden these different possibilities occur. Like in your brain, you'll start thinking, oh, but maybe this and maybe that. And so you have the awareness of different possibilities, but then you also allow the world to bring things to you that before you wouldn't allow. Because we are so powerful, we really do block ourselves from receiving things that we're asking for. And that's, when you talk about the law of attraction and manifesting and things like that, we talk about how important it is to release. You ask, you're clear, but you also have to let go of how it comes. You also have to be really in alignment with that creation, with what you're asking for. So even if there's, consciously you really want something, if there's a part of you that doesn't, for whatever reason, it could be a fear, it could be not believing it's possible, anything that exists like that within you can block you achieving that success or receiving the thing that you're asking for. And that's why that internal work is so important.
So how long, when you're working with people, does it take from when you first start seeing them for them to be able to see some kind of change within themselves?
Well, there's no pat answer for that, because everybody's different and people are choosing to work on different things, right? I used to do single sessions. I don't really do that anymore unless somebody has worked with me consistently and this is just like a follow-up. Or I have clients who have done packages, and so they know how I work, they know what's possible, and so when they encounter an issue that they're having a hard time shifting, they'll book a session to work on that issue. But then we can get in real fast and work on it because they're used to the process. So now what I do is I have 5-session and 10-session packages, and that way, and they're done weekly. I really believe that the commitment, and what's the word I'm looking for, doing them once a week, like in a short amount of time, it builds this potency to the work. It gives people time within a week to sort of digest what we've done, to allow shifts to happen. And it also allows me to support my clients and encourage them to use the tools themselves, because that's kind of what I want as well. I don't want you to be dependent on me. I want to empower you. So I'm going to give you the tools, I'll give you homework, and then it's up to you to do it or not. But the people who get the most out of the sessions are the people who do really start using the tools and doing the work in between sessions, right? Because that's part of the empowerment process, is to say, hey, I don't have to believe this, I don't have to be stuck in that, let me practice with the tools and change this. And so that's why I really like that. I mean, in one session you can have breakthroughs, right? I find often after the second or third session, people will see like significant change in the issue that because it's just, again, the first session we might be talking a little bit more. It's, and it adds on. I've had clients who do the 5 weeks that after 4 weeks, they're like, oh yeah, okay, I'm good. Like all of this stuff is resolved now. And so then I say, okay, well, for the last session, let's go into the future. What would you like to create and what's blocking that? But there are other people who after 5 want to do more because, the primary issues are better, but they realize there's all of this other stuff that they can still work on, right? So it's really, but I feel very comfortable with the 5-week package that, it really can. I always say 5 weeks can change your life, and it really can. And it really is for people who want to take control of their lives.
And I'm assuming that they have to have an awareness of that, because, some people may have suffered traumas in their childhood, but yet they think that they're over it, but they don't realize it's built up a pattern of behavior over the years. So you've got to have an awareness, right, that something needs to shift.
I don't know that they have to have the awareness of what is contributing to their issue. I think they have to have the desire to really change things, because I have, it's usually when people hire me, they are in it to, they want the change. But it has happened when people hire me and they're not really receiving the work, or they're not doing the work, or they're so intent on, it's hard to explain it, but there are people who just they really don't want to see the solution. They for whatever reason, are staying stuck in the problem instead of the solution. So you have to really be committed to being the solution, or finding the solution, and doing that work. The work that I do with people is very interactive. It's not like, I'm not fixing you. You've got to be part of it. And again, like I said, if you want to maximize it, you do the homework, you start, integrating it into your life. You don't have to, but it certainly helps. But so I think it's not like it's my job to help you have the awareness, or it's my job to find what those underlying issues are and then clear them with you. So I think the most important piece is, I think people who come to me are people who have a sense that they could be a bit more empowered, or there is more power to be had, and they're just not sure how to get there, or if you're kind of, like I said earlier, flailing around and you keep spinning your wheels and doing things in the physical world, you're doing everything you should be doing in the physical world and it's just not working. You've got to go to the underlying stuff. You've got to go to the energy. You've got to go to the emotional. You've got to go to the mental, layers, and work on that in order to affect change in your physical world.
So do you also work with crystals when you do energy work?
No, I don't. I mean, I love crystals. They're pretty, but I'm very, for me, I think crystals and other things like that are really cool tools, and they're fun. And if they help you, great. But I am, I think we have to be careful that we don't give those things more power than we give ourselves. And I find that happens a lot. And I would tell you that that's actually fits into the second archetype, in my archetypes, the warrior. And that's when we aren't working on our inner stuff, but we're really focused on the external world. And we are defined by the external world, right? So we don't, in that second archetype, we're not believing that we can change the external world, or how we can change the external world is very limited, right? And so you're going out there believing that the real world is the real world. And so then your actions are limited and your believed impact on the world is limited. And that kind of behavior, I think, is also what we see when people defer their power to the moon cycle or what the planets are doing, like, oh, Mercury's in retrograde, so it's going to be crappy for the next 6 weeks. No, like, where's your power? Like,
So I've never understood what that was anyway. I never heard of that until I came to the States.
Right.
And so when people say it, I'm still, after all these years, thinking like, I really don't think I quite understand what that means, but it doesn't bother me. So I just go on my merry way.
Right. And it's same as, oh, it's a new moon, so write up your affirmations or what, like, no, I mean, I'm not saying that the elements don't contribute to us. I think that we are, these magical beings on a magical planet that have all of these, the elemental world is contributing to us, like, if we want to get it, but that doesn't mean they're more powerful than us. That's very disempowered thinking, right? So, sorry, I went on a total tangent with the crystals thing. Again, I think they're really great and they feel good. But if you are empowering your crystals to do stuff for you and protect you and clear away your energies instead of doing it yourself, you are not in your power.
So do you use Reiki still when you're working with the energy portion?
When I am working with people, I don't necessarily label what I'm doing. I can tell you that I do use EFT in my own way, EFT tapping. Like I said, that's my primary tool. Reiki is probably part of it in the sense that, a lot of what I do is I am going into the energy field and shifting things around, as well as, and that's really the only way I can describe it. I don't know what that's called. Reiki is kind of that too. There's a lot of healing modalities or energy modalities that basically come down to shifting the energy, right?
Yeah, so for people that are not familiar with EFT, explain to them a little bit exactly what you do with EFT.
Sure. So EFT tap is sometimes referred to as tapping, and it is short for emotional freedom technique or techniques. And it is like a needleless acupuncture, if you will, because acupuncture functions on the energy system, on the meridians, and meridians carry energy like veins carry blood. And there's a whole system of energy, and many people have heard of chakras, and the chakras are energy centers in that energy system. And acupuncturists know these meridians inside and out. And if you present a problem, whether it's physical or emotional, they're going to know which meridian is connected to that problem, because everything is interrelated, right? And there you go. So energy is very important. It's connected to your emotional body, your beliefs, and your physical body. It's all interrelated. And when you're doing EFT tapping, you don't have to know the meridian system inside and out. You have it's called a basic recipe. And when you tap on specific points of the face and the torso, like the upper body, to release. I'll give you the EFT definition, or the EFT understanding of it, is that any negative energy is caused, or any negative feeling is caused by a disruption in the energy system. It's similar to Reiki, right? With Reiki, the idea is that we're unblocking blockages in the energy field. With EFT, you can really, really target a belief, you can really target a memory, an emotion, and with the tapping, release the energy blockage or the disruption that is creating that. So the idea is that you have a memory, let's say, painful memory. It doesn't have to be abuse, right? It's sometimes the most innocuous things affect us forever. I have one in my childhood, and I can tell you it deeply, it was like just a one-liner from a teacher, but it deeply affected me for many, many, many years. And so when you tap into those things, so yeah, so with EFT, they say, you think of a memory and it creates this disruption, and the disruption is what causes the negative emotion. So when you're doing the tapping, you're releasing the disruption connected to the memory, and therefore you can access the memory without having the charge, the negative charge. My understanding of it is from a spiritual perspective, because that's kind of my background is spirituality. I used to do angel readings. I'm an intuitive, so I kind of see it from the perspective that everything that isn't love, that isn't joy, that isn't ease and peace, the things that I believe we are as energetic beings, right? If you're a piece of the universe is limitless. The universe is potent and powerful, and from my understanding, ease and peace and joy and all of those things. Anything that isn't that, we can release and tap away, because that is stuff that comes from the human field, like that physical human field. And it's not wrong. I'm not making being human bad. I think the opposite. We often feel like we have, by being human beings, that we've somehow and you'll hear that a lot, I think, in spirituality, that we make the human body wrong, that we're less powerful because we're in the human body. And I don't believe that. I think there's a beautiful synergy of the spiritual and the physical that allows us to experience things in a very different way. And so not making either one of those bad, amplifying and maximizing both elements of the self, which is the energetic self and the physical. And let's maximize the crap out of that, and create different experiences for ourselves. So that's kind of the basis of my work. And so limitation is not you as an energetic being. It's not you as a spiritual being. Limitation is a human thing. It's a belief, and you can tap it away and then just shift naturally back into your space of feeling more powerful. You don't have to find that. I always tell people, you don't find yourself outside of you. You don't find your power outside of you, right? You are the source of everything at the core. And I find, like, even the sense of self, like, people will often go out in the external world looking for, like, well, who am I? Where do I fit? And so now we're trying to fit ourselves in other people's definitions of what's possible and who we can be. But each single one of us is different. We're all different. We're all unique, right, with our unique backgrounds and, experiences in this life and other lifetimes. You have a very distinct, unique imprint. And I think we all have a distinct, unique gift and message and voice. And you amplify that, you allow it out by going within and, by allowing yourself to be that light and to self-express, right? So you have to do that inner work in order to feel safe. That's where you discover who you are, not out there. It's not like on a menu, like at a fast food place, and I'll have this and I'll do that. It's about your sense of self, but also, like, who can you be on the planet? What are you on the planet? What is your, people want to find their purpose. We're talking about, women. I just turned 48, right? It's often at this kind of time of life that people start looking inwards, because, I had my child late. He's only 10. But a lot of women at this age are, the children are grown, they're trying to find themselves. Well, you're not going to find yourself out there. Out right. There is going to give you the experiences to give you, I don't know if you're familiar with Abraham Hicks, no. Esther Hicks. So Esther Hicks, they're very, very well known in the spiritual world and the world of the law of attraction. Esther Hicks is a woman who channels an energy called Abraham. And they talk about contrast and the contrast between what you experience, like life brings you contrast between how you feel on the inside and what you experience on the outside. That contrast can feel painful, but it can also inform you a lot as to what works for you and what doesn't. So if there's any way that we can use the external world to find ourselves, it's by looking at that contrast and saying, well, that doesn't work for me, or that doesn't feel right. The problem is we often gaslight ourselves and make ourselves wrong for not agreeing with other people or things, right? Oh, how come I don't agree with that? And then I'm going to like do all of this, self-manipulation and gaslighting to make myself fit that person's world instead of creating my own world and standing strong in my own world and my sense of self. And then, when we were talking about my archetypes, it's really, it's really important step to do the self-healing and the self-work but then the next step is to go beyond that and to start creating a different experience, physical experience for you, so that you're, instead of internalizing the external world, you start externalizing your inner world. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does to me, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you have any last words of wisdom to give our listeners today?
I don't know. I can't think of anything on the spot, but I guess I just really want to encourage people to have a look maybe at where you have believed that you don't have any power or that things can't change, because I guarantee you it's not true. How's that?
That's great. And I'll be sure to put all of your links for people to connect with you in the show notes. And so as we close, I'm going to ask you one of my way out there questions, just to put you on the spot. So if you could have any superhero power that was available, what would you like to have?
Wow. Got to think about this. I don't know if it is an actual superhero, but I really would love to just snap my fingers and have a bag of money right in front of me. How's that?
That would be great. I'm with you on that one. Well, thank
also,
you.
instant travel. Yeah. So those two things.
Yeah. That would be fun, especially these days if you could instantly travel somewhere and have no restrictions. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being with us and giving us a little enlightenment. And energy is very fascinating.
Yes.
It is. So thank you so much, Diane. I appreciate you taking your time. And I will again make sure everybody knows how to contact you and put the link into your book as well.
Perfect. Oh, and if anybody wants the book, I sell it on Amazon, but I will gift it to anybody who wants it. It won't come through Kindle. It'll be a PDF, but I'm happy to gift it to anybody who watches this and would like to have it, can just send me an email and I'll flip it over to them.
Awesome. That's great. I appreciate that. Thanks, Diane.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks. Have a great day.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.